Hello, this is Dr. Young. I'm going to go over your week 10 video. We're getting really close to the end here. And this chapter is pretty short. And it's more like a summary of what we talked about in your text. And we're going to talk about, meaningful work. And kind of more about the relationships between people and their work, their customer use. So obviously when you're implementing Lean, progress is the best motivation as you see the improvements, as you see growth, as you see new products coming out, as you see cost base decreasing, waste. All this becomes a competitive advantage, when you are measured up to your competitors. So all of this, these rewards are reaped by the long-term use of Lean, and obviously that in turn reinforces motivation. And Lean work becomes meaningful. Probably one of the reasons why that is because it has such a heavy focus on employee innovation and autonomy. And when you feel like you take ownership in something, it means more to you. Creates meeting by team level Kaizen with strategy challenges, which is kind of what I'm trying to get at there, because really everyone has a part in it. It really is a team effort. It really is an organizational effort. But it does require a shift in how we think about jobs and understanding the relationship people have with their work, obviously. Management plays a more consultant role, advisory role, instead of the authoritarian type of role. Aligning individual success makes for a better performing business. So, you got employees that, they're taking ownership, so that it's going to be a better business model there. So, in their example, in their text, there is, let's see, who was it? Who was the CEO on here? Oh yeah. I think it's, okay, so Jacques. Anyway, he was noticing Beyonce. I think that's how you say his name. Beyonce. Anyway, it's on page 238. Talking about the Lean transformation that his company went over and through, and he adapted the company to individual schedules. He started to see results of Kaizen efforts every week, and he noticed that people were getting more involved in their work and achieving production plans. So it was really about understanding the relationship people have with their work. There's a very interesting perspective in here. It basically said that people can view their work as their life. Their important life started after their work, but if you can get people to feel that way about their work, that's, the gravity of importance of their work, the relationship between them and their work as far as how attached they are to that work. That is something that lean management strives to do. Problems are the foundation with which Lean can build the employee's relationship with their work and the building blocks of learning. Lean requires employees to focus their curiosity on the problems experienced with work, and separating work from people leads to broken processes and incompetent employees. So, Lean distinguishes potential from performance. So the Lean tools that we've talked about, like 5S, single piece flow, the spaghetti diagram, standardized work, the 7 wastes, all of those things are tools that give the employees the skills to see their own work differently. So the whole point is to get people to want to solve their own problems and to enjoy solving their own problems and having the confidence to do it. So in table 10.2 is where the relationship between the employee and work becomes pretty clear here. I think this is a valuable chart, so I'm pointing it out. And it kind of helps you understand the reasoning and the relationship the employees have with the step, and how managers influence that as well. So the managerial role needs to consider the following. Is the work environment conducive to doing good work? Are teams stable and supportive? Is there clarity of sight and purpose? And can teams learn and progress while doing their jobs? So this is what the manager needs to be worried about. We've talked about this a little bit as far as creating that environment where they can do work, where they can try new things, where they can feel that they can experiment. Are the teams stable and supportive? Is there a high conflict? Are there issues? Is there a volatile environment? That's what you don't want for these teams. Is there purpose? Is there clarity? Does everyone understand what Kaizen is and the practices that they need to do? Does everyone understand the lean fundamentals in this way of working? And then can teams learn and progress while doing their job? Are they learning new skills? Are they gaining new competencies? Are their cognitive abilities improving as they do these practices, these methods, implementing Kaizen over and over and over again? Do leaders learn from the improvements? Because leaders should be learning too how to be better supporting influences on their teams. They're supposed to be changing that focus from that traditional mindset of, controlling, evaluating, punishing, supporting and rewarding. Those do evolve into something else in Lean. And they have to be able to understand that they will lose some control in order to give their employees more control. That's what it takes. And it can be challenging for someone who's been a manager or leader for a long time and is used to that type of paradigm where they they have the final say on that team. Or they, if they tell their employees to do something, they just have to do it. It's a different mindset. And at higher levels, a focus on the relationship with customers should shift from extracting money to adding value to their lives. So instead of how can I give this customer as little as possible for this amount of money, it's more about how can I add the most value to their lives while maintaining efficient cost-cutting measures. So basically you want to add more value, the most value for the least amount of money, instead of the least value for the most amount of money. You see people manufacturing things that, I guess you could take the car industry. Obviously Toyota will last you forever. Not forever, but a long, long time. And if you're a different kind of car manufacturer, you might not want you want your customer to come back and buy something from you in maybe 5 years. But a Toyota can last you for 15, 20 years sometimes. You want that customer to come back, but the more quality you build into that car and more value you give to the customer, the less the frequency of them coming back to you is obviously going to be reduced. But at least they're going to come back to you, right? So, okay, so we're going to go back to Burn. I'm going to talk about year 1. Because this is year 1 of their Lean transformation. So what you want to do is read that chapter. And they had the biggest gain was their reduction in inventory. Their sales grew and gross margin increased, and reduction in inventory freed up 30% of floor space. And it's not usually that first year will be the biggest. So in this case, intensity, pace, and follow-up are all important. You can run one Kaizen every 6 weeks going forward. You won't see much improvement. But if you think about 2 per week and more often, and a lot of pressure from the CEO and senior staff, if you get a lot of pressure then, but you will be able to maybe keep that going. But it takes a lot of pressure to get the culture going, the Lean culture, to keep it going. So basically, after the early gains, it tried to roll out an aggressive Kaizen approach to get as many people on as possible in the first year. And it did focus it on its largest factory, which was Cleveland, Ohio. So in the end, the other plant managers from 6 other factories joined Kaizen teams at that location every 6 weeks and were asked to implement what they learned in their own plants. So the problems faced, obviously, in the beginning there were lots of issues. Many problems with machinery. Setup reductions didn't work as expected. There were many problems. But people were dealing with and fixed problems as they came up. So it was very difficult because there's a lot of issues that were going on. There was skepticism for Lean from other departments. You know, it was just a very hard time. But the results in the first year were good compared to their original plan, and sales grew slightly, and gross margin increased by 0.5 point. But still, it was very difficult. Having regular Kaizen events will help employees see the value of Lean practice and how employee problem solving can help productivity and quality. But it just, you have to keep it at it, and you have to keep almost be repetitive. But the CEO Jerry York kept on, you know, didn't give up and kept putting the pressure on. But everyone has to be put in roles and become problem solvers, and that's not always easy to transition as an employee from someone who just says, you know, does what they're told, into someone who actually has to solve problems. But the meetings might help get everyone on board, but it's very, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So, Lean implementation checklist, create a value stream structure. Start with multiple Kaizen events to shift from batch to flow, which we talked about earlier, how we do that. We switch from just here, we forecast this many things, widgets are going to need to be made this month, to pulling the pull to a pull company that basically manufactures only what they need. Kaizen events are necessary for hands-on training. Jimbo walks to follow up on Kaizen results. That's going to the floor. That's looking at the process. Okay, what's changed? Let's see that in action. Okay, do we need to change anything else right now? So instead of, you know, we want to make sure we see with our own eyes what's going on. Go to the customer, see their process from their point of view. Are there any issues there? Establish visual control and daily management for each cell. Excuse me. So we talked about cells. We talked about how that works. Especially when you're looking at cells, chapter 1. Just going back to that before. Go back to chapter, in your burn text, the flow Kaizen. If you need a refresher on that. Chapter 7. Visual control and daily management for each cell. You can see the cells and how they look, and you know how you basically want to make sure that you're monitoring those carefully. All right. Provide supervisors and cell leaders with Lean problem-solving training and tools. Learn by doing. Good. The tools, you definitely need to be training on the tools that you're going to use for, whether it's visual, the 5S's, visual controls, setup reduction. You got to learn all those methods. Having senior management participate in 4 to 6 full-week Kaizen teams per year. And when not on a team, senior staff should attend Kaizens and daily meetings. So Kaizen is just one of those continuous activities, and the events are important. And you want to get everyone in as many Kaizens as you can. I mean, the more you can reinforce this way of working, the better off you'll be. Practice makes you better at it. Practice makes you more efficient. Practice makes it become second nature. Create a suggestion program for waste elimination for all employees. We talked about that. Request that cell leaders come up with one waste elimination idea each week. Get the leaders to make put in suggestions as well. Ensure that production control charts are being kept up to date and that countermeasures are in place to get back on track. And production control charts should always be up to date. And let me look at that. I remember I just saw that example in here, just to refer you back to it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's like on page 86 of your burn text. There's one cell, and there's a production control chart. So it helps you take corrective action and just make sure you have countermeasures to do that. You can see here on this production control chart what's on the plan and in the actual time, and then some of the comments and problems. So you see the problems that happen here, and then you can kind of make countermeasures to get it back on track. Hold weekly meetings for value stream leaders and to present progress on measurements. So that kind of helps you decide, see where your progress is in all of your measurements. And, like if you got a value stream, you had I'll just use an order entry one. As you mapped out your order entry process, you realize that you're getting up and going to this area, and then you're going over to this area, and then you have to come back to your desk. So you're wasting that time. You make a change. You move something that you need to, like, I don't know, you just have to go, I don't know, I'm just going to make something. You have to go to your printer. So you're going to move that printer over near your desk where you put orders in a computer, so you have less time to travel. So you measure that and you say, okay, well, here's the progress on this measurement. I mean, basically, whatever measurement it is. That is the simple example. It would make a difference, however. You can see with the whole lean, in one problem, you might have more complex problems, and you might have very simple problems that you hadn't looked at before. But whatever changes you make, you present that progress. You want to hold weekly meetings for that. Leaders need to constantly monitor the floor, checking charts, observing work, and supporting teams. We kind of really talked about that already. kind of what they have, just being there, observing, monitoring. Insist that standard work can constantly be improved upon. This is true. You might have standard work charts that show you exactly how long it should take to do this step, for example, but that doesn't mean that can't be improved upon. Set stretch targets that challenge. Okay, we are, that order entry example we were talking about. They wanted to increase the time they acknowledge orders to 2 to 3 days. What if they wanted, let's make it 1 day. How can we make it 1 day? So like set higher targets each time. Be willing to take risks. You might have something you want to try that might be risky, but it's worth a shot. You got to kind of be brave. You might have a novel approach to a problem that hadn't been considered before. Don't be afraid to take that risk. Embrace failure as a learning opportunity. If you're on the floor and you've got all these ideas and none of them are helping your waste or none of them are decreasing the time it takes to do a certain task, keep trying. Pick yourself back up, keep trying. Failure is normal. If you don't fail, you don't learn. Oops, I skipped one. Get everyone involved. I've already talked about that. Establish profit sharing. It would be good, it might be motivating to whatever benefits come from your lean efforts, and if that's more growth, to share that with employees somehow. Conduct annual employee surveys. See how everybody feels about the lean transformation at that point. Get a gauge of the temperature of that as far as how's everyone adjusting. That's a very it's a good practice. Quality circle time. That's just another that's a TQM method. It's another method of quality, looking at quality. Let's see. In this case, by the way, the profit sharing, Jerry York did do that, and there's an example in there. I forgot to mention my example, the example there. Screen new hires for teamwork skills. Now, see, that is very interesting because if you're already, if you're in that process of converting to lean, you definitely want someone that can work on teams. That's very important. They're going to be more successful probably in that culture than someone who doesn't like to work on teams. And quality circle is basically just a group of employees that meet to consider problem solving or resolving problems. But we kind of, that's what we're doing here with the whole lean and these, the Kaizen events and everything. So the only thing is that might focus more on quality of product versus other aspects. Solve problems and move forward, and keep raising targets for more learning and waste elimination. So it's an ongoing cycle. It's basically just a cycle. Now we're in a cyclical mode where we're just doing the same thing over and over and over to get the maximum efficiency we can get. and the best quality. So that's really all there is. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know and I'll be happy to assist you. Thanks and have a great week.